And we are live. Namaste, hello, and welcome everyone to What's Your Story? This is your host, Dr. Varun and Gandhi. Love and abundance, everybody. I like throwing that up at the very beginning, starting off the show with some positivity. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. We are we have a special guest today who's going to talk about purpose, soul's purpose, right? So the topic of the episode of today is Discover Your Soul's Purpose with our guest, Pavi Theva. Before I introduce Pavi, I want to let everyone know to please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share this video with someone, with anyone who you think might benefit from this interview, from talking about the purpose, talking about living purposefully, and having a mission and looking forward to moving somewhere. So, also, if you have any questions for Pavi, please feel free to put it in the comments below because we would love to hear from you, and Pavi would love to have those questions answered. So who is Pavi? She's the founder of a mindfulness movement called Gromance. She's also a podcast host and the author of The Ultimate Guide to Discover Your Soul's Ultimate Guide to Discover Your Life's Purpose. And she's a mindfulness mentor. In her free time, she loves to read about product management, business, spirituality, Ayurveda, and she loves spending time in nature. So welcome, Pavi. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, hi Varun. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to be on your show.
Sweet. So, the first question to every guest is always, what's your story, Pavi? You're talking about purposeful living, living the soul's purpose. How did you get to finding your soul's purpose? What are those stories behind it?
Right, right. So yeah, I'm originally from India. I grew up in Chennai, and I come from a family of engineers. So naturally, growing up, I was very inclined towards becoming an engineer, and I did become one. And then I thought, I want to pursue more education in around engineering and technology. And since I had some family here in the United States, I moved to the US. I did my masters, and then I started working in tech. Um, I kind of felt like, very disconnected from the work that I was doing. I felt out of touch with creativity, and I felt I was more like a people oriented person. I love, interacting and bringing the right people together to solve problems. So I thought, like, okay, from, engineering, maybe I should pursue product management. But I've never thought something outside of tech because I was very influenced with, family and all of my friends from India or people that I know here, everyone was actually working in tech, so I couldn't even think something outside of that. So then I became a product manager, and even now I work as a product manager at Amazon. And as I was doing that, that kind of work, I still, did not accomplish or did not have that like sense of like being myself in work. And I felt something was missing, even though I kind of had all the things that people should have in their lives to be happy. And eventually I hit burnout, and because of that, I had a series of health problems like thyroid and gut health issues and all of that. And I was going through a tough time dealing with all of these health issues when I was, just 23, 24. I was having a lot of these problems like hair fall, skincare issues, everything that you could think of at that time. And it was really scary to me, like being alone here by myself. So finally, I decided I need to take some action, and I started working on my fitness or my physical fitness journey and learned all I could about nutrition, holistic health, and met with a lot of coaches and doctors to really heal my body. And in that journey, somewhere down the lane, I soon realized that it's also a lot to do with, uh, with what is happening in my mind, which is what was like causing a lot of stress. So I decided I have to work on my mindset, and that brought me on this mindfulness journey. And I started doing meditation, yoga, and tapping into these ancient yogic practices to really work on my mental health aspect as well. So I became a practitioner of mindfulness, did a lot of courses and certifications and those things to really heal myself. And then I was able to, really transform my life. And naturally, I think that made me want to share those learnings and wisdom and my journey with other people. Because when I looked around, especially a lot of people working in the tech and business industry were going through burnout and stress, and pretty much most of the people who I knew had, thyroid as their biggest problem because of stress. So I thought I should really, share whatever I have learned and share this mindfulness wisdom, and also help people to really figure out their soul's purpose, like why they are here and what they want to create in this world. Because we are so much caught up with what other people are telling us through our culture, through our upbringing, and then we end up not feeling happy in the jobs that we are doing. So that was something that, really motivated and inspired me to go more deeper in this area and find romance. And romance really means like falling in love with your ever evolving self, with yourself, like basically your growth journey. Because we keep chasing one goal after the other and fail to enjoy that journey, right? So that is why I came up, with this term romance, and that's what I'm working on right
So,
now.
one of the first things you mentioned is you had some health problems. Along with that, you were also going through a hard time at work. You were maybe it was something with the purpose. You didn't feel as purposeful at the job you were currently at. And along with that, you were going through the health problems. And then when you were going through Ayurveda and discovering some of those, connections, what did you find between how you were unhappy at work, how you were unsatisfied with with something in your life, to those health problems that you were having? Like, what link did you find there?
Link between like the health problems and what I was facing at work.
Yeah, like what? Not in work, but just in life. Like you're unhappy in your life at that time. You're having some questions that about around your purpose, and So what is you found
Right.
some connection between that, right?
Right, right. I figured that, the reason for my burnout was more because I didn't have a purpose in life. Like it was more just, going to a job, getting paid, like, and going like one goal after the other, like basically getting married, having kids, having a house. But I didn't really feel like I had something exciting or inspiring to wake up to. So I think that was the biggest reason why I had burnout. And obviously your body reacts to all these things that you're going through, right? Like your emotions and anxiety. And the body started reacting in its language and gave me this health problem. So overall, I think in my journey, the biggest reason was not having a reason to wake up to a solid purpose in life.
I can completely relate to that because while I was a consultant as well, so I worked as a consultant a couple of years after I graduated with my PhD. And while I was working, about a year and a half into it, I started having this pain in my solar plexus. And every morning I'd wake up with this pain. And anytime I meditated on it or asked the question like, what's the message there? It always came down to that purpose. Like, why are you waking up? And why are you waking up to go to this job where you really are not making much of a difference? I mean, even though I was working in the public health infrastructure, I was, it was like dealing with the drinking water system and all of that. But I didn't feel like I was doing a lot in that role. And so I can kind of relate to that. You also talk about purposeful living. What does that mean, and how can we live a purposeful life?
Right. Yeah, I do talk a lot about that on my Instagram page. I would like to actually break it down into two parts. Like the first part is more about like the purpose of life is to really discover who you are, what you want to create in this world, and why you are here. And that is basically like your life's mission statement, what we were talking about right now, right? Something that you're excited, something that you really want to create in this world. And there's this beautiful quote from Deepak Chopra that I have in my wall that I wake up to every day and look at it, which I thought I'll share. It goes like this. So, everyone has a unique gift or a special talent to give to others. And when we blend this unique talent with service to others, we experience the ecstasy and exaltation of our own spirit, which is the ultimate goal of all the goals. So, like this quote says it all, like blending our unique gifts and making it as a service to others. So from the time we were born, our family, our friends, our society have this influence in us in many ways. And depending on where we were born and the kind of culture we go through, we end up doing things a certain way, and we choose a certain kind of a job. And I like to call this as the social self, because due to like the social pressures and upbringing, this social self evolves in a certain way. And then there is this highest self, which I'm pretty sure like you also talk a lot about, which is your natural self, right? Which is the most wise self, which already has certain characteristics and talents. And it means that you're already born with your soul's purpose, but you just have forgotten or disconnected from your highest self. So this social self and this highest self really has to be in alignment and communicate to each other. And that is when we will be really able to listen to our highest self and discover that life's purpose. And all the things that we're talking about, like lack of fulfillment, or symptoms from our body, lack of motivation, and all of this is basically a misalignment between the social self and the highest self. And the second part that I recently learned from this book called Book of Joy, written by Dalai Lama, his teaching says that the purpose of life is to really strive for happiness. So from the time we are born, we all really want to be happy and we don't want to suffer, right? So he kind of says that that is your purpose of life, to develop certain qualities and habits like compassion and love, and eliminate anger, selfishness, and greed, and all of this, and really make and really like become a compassionate person. He almost says that it's a skill that you need to develop, and that is a part of being a human being. So I also really loved that aspect of how our purpose is revolving around this common theme of striving for happiness and becoming a compassionate person to really experience that happiness.
So, um, purposeful. So, for someone who wants to discover their purpose, what would you suggest them to do, and how can they start about this journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing I would say is really to follow your excitement and curiosity. I also have this framework that I teach in my program, but to quickly walk through that, I say that the life's purpose is an intersection of three things: excitement, skills, and mission. So, excitement is obviously something that you are really curious about, that you're excited about, that makes you come alive. So, things that you love to read, watch, things that you love having conversations around, all this is around that, excitement area. And then skills is something that you're naturally good at. Like some people are naturally good at creating art or creating music. Some really are good at talking or speaking. Some are good at, putting together a blog or starting a business. It could be any skill, but basically something that you are naturally good at, but also you have this drive and passion to build the expertise on that. And then the third area is your mission. Like mission is basically the problems that you are drawn towards solving. So not all people react the same way to all the problems in this world. I am more drawn towards a certain kind of problem. Some other people might be drawn towards veganism. Some other people are drawn towards different problems and they react to it in different ways. So things that you're not naturally pulled towards, that you feel you need to make an impact, that is basically your mission. So when you put together all these three things: excitement, skills, and mission, I think that is an intersection. Like the intersection of all these three things is, I think, where your life's purpose relies on.
For someone that has, so I know Kundan also talks about this as well.
Hmm.
Uh, it, where they're like multi-talented, right? They have so many different
Right.
skills. They have, and to try to figure out which skill to focus on or which skill to utilize. So how do you, what kind of questions do you ask? I'm very big on questions because I feel like asking the right questions will help you, get you the answer that you're looking for. So what kind of questions do you ask when understanding what skills to utilize or what skills to develop further?
Right. I think that, yeah, that's a very interesting question because I also think I have, different passions and interests. So for me, when I started my journey, like I loved reading, I loved music, and I loved dancing. But for me, on the excitement bucket, I wasn't very curious about learning different dance styles. I enjoyed dancing, but I wasn't going to different dance workshops and trying to, build on my skills of dancing. But I was very curious initially about holistic health. So all the things that I learned, on Google search, literally everything will be on holistic health. On social media, it will be on health. So I kind of knew that that was what I was curious to learn more about. And the workshops that I attend, the courses that I take was all around that topic. So although these things like dancing and singing fills my cup and energizes me, I know that my curiosity was pulling me towards holistic health. So I think that is a great way to start. And then it keeps evolving. It's not like once you have figured it, it's done. It kept evolving for me. It started with nutrition and then it became more about mindset. And now it's about soul's purpose. I don't know whether, in the future it will change again, but it's all around one common area, but it, keeps evolving. So I think if you kind of have if all different kinds of skill, maybe ask yourself, what are you very excited and curious to learn more about? What are your Google search results? What you love having conversations about? And then you can also ask questions around, like I said, the problems that you're drawn towards solving. What do people come to you for? Do they come, like I know my mom and my friends come and always ask me, can I eat this, can I eat that, like how do I create this healthy recipe? So at that time I knew, like, okay, people are coming to me for advice on nutrition and recipes and those sorts of things. So you can also ask those kind of questions to yourself, or even you can reach out to your family and close friends and ask them, like, what do you think I'm an expert on that you would come and ask me for advice? And that would also be a great thing to really reflect on.
Yeah, I love that part about what do they come to ask you for advice, because that tells you what you're really great at, right? People see that and they acknowledge that, and that's why they come to you asking for those for advice in that aspect of life. What do you think about like 16 personality tests and love languages and human design chart? There are all these things out there, all these like
Mhm.
tests that analyze you in different ways based on certain information that you provide. Do you think those help in determining or giving people an understanding of what their life's purpose is and just their sole
Yeah, that's
purpose?
an interesting question. Actually, I've created my own archetypes for a life's purpose, which I eventually plan on making it like a quiz. But right now, I've just created those different archetypes. I think people can fall in more than one category. Like I know some tests, will kind of narrow you down and say like you're only this kind of person, and that can be misleading. I think because sometimes you can fall under different categories. So some of the archetypes that I have created is basically protector, which is you're more like a nurturing kind of a person, like healthcare people, therapist, those sorts of people. And then the other one is entertainer, who are more artists and people who are like charming and love to create things. And I forget, but there are these different kinds that I've created. And when people in my clients like took this exercise, they felt that they were in different kind of archetypes and not just one type. So I think I would still go and listen to your heart and what you're pulled towards doing, because these things can actually make you go into kind of like a push model. Like, okay, I got this result, so let me go and do this specific thing. And then you might end up feeling disconnected and, not really motivated to do it. So I would just say, like, start with something that you feel excited about. If it's a podcast, go for it. If it's like putting down a book, then go for that. So yeah.
That's a really great suggestion. Now, when people are going down the path of discovering their life purpose, how can they, like, how does one know that they have discovered it? Like, this is it. Are there clues? Are there signs that
Mhm.
people should look out for?
Right, yeah, there are a lot of signs actually. I think I do believe that the universe is constantly giving you these signs from the time you were born. And it's just that sometimes, we are so much aligned with our social self and not with our higher self that we miss these signs. But most of the stories that I have listened to, and even from my personal experience, initially the universe will, I kind of feel that that if you're not listening to the universe, it gives you a more louder notice, which is more like a wake up call. Like people say it's a wake up call, right? And I think that is really the sign from the universe that you just need to listen and start living your life's purpose. But how do you know you're already kind of discovered it? Is basically, I think there are a few things. First is, you will start meeting the right people at the right time, and you just feel like the right things is happening to you right now. And this concept is called synchronicities. And it's happened to me as well. Like I have met, a few people at the very right time who gave me the right advice, and I'm very grateful for meeting them at that right time, which is what like helped me come on this path. And the other sign is, you like what we were talking about earlier, right? You wake up feeling excited and energized, and you are overall, you feel very happy with the way that you're living your life. And the third thing I would say is being in that flow state. Like for people who are not not sure about this concept of flow, it means that you are laser focused and you're fully attentive to what you're doing right now, that you almost lose track of time. So when you're living your life's purpose and doing certain activities that aligns with your purpose, I feel like you will experience that effortless execution or that flow state. And I think these are like, yeah, a few signs that indicates that you're living your purpose. And oh, also another thing I feel is a great indicator is if your end vision, like say for example, if you want to write a book about Ayurveda, for example, and that's kind of the first thing that you plan to do, when you envision that goal or that vision, it will really excite you and bring you a lot of joy. Although there are few steps in that, book creation journey that can be very exhausting and tiring, you know that the end vision is really what you want, and the end vision is what is really, yeah, it's really what you want, and it excites you. So that is also a great indicator when your end vision excites you, that you are on the right path.
Early on in this, you mentioned about signs from the universe.
Mhm.
One sign is where it's the loudest, like that clear sign from the universe.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt in my stomach when I was, working in
Mhm.
agriculture.
Right.
That was that sign from the universe that I'm not living my soul's purpose. What are the subtle signs that people have to watch out for, right? Because before all of that
Mhm.
strong signal, they're like very, very subtle signs that they're receiving. How does one watch out for that? Like, what are they watching out for?
Hmm. So for me, it was more like, the feedback that I was getting at work wasn't like, I wasn't really like excited about it, or didn't have that inner motivation to do more in that space. So if you're kind of always feeling a little demotivated in life, I think that is maybe a subtle sign. Do you agree? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And if you're also feeling more lonely, like I think that was another early on sign, like you just feel bored, how much can you travel? How much can you keep motivate, like meeting friends? Like there is still like, even though you do all these things to fill your life, there is still that bit of loneliness and boredom. So I think if you're with people or without people, and you still, sorry, if you're with people and you still feel that loneliness, I think that is also a sign that you're not living your life's purpose.
yeah. Um, you know, I look at signs also as numbers that come across. For
Oh, right.
example,
Mm-hmm.
like if there's a police car that or an
Yeah.
ambulance that's going across and they have a
Mm-hmm.
number imprinted on it, what I do is
Mm-hmm.
I take that number and look up in Google. I type in angel and that number, so like angel number,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is, and I look up the meaning of it, and I use that as signs from the universe. Something that I resonate with in that message. is something that's meant for me, and that's the message for me at this moment.
Interesting. For
Um,
me, it's been like, sometimes I get like recommendations of books, or I get gifted a certain book, and then I watch about the same thing in a movie recommended by someone, or I just, click on that. And I feel like throughout the week, there is the same concept or theme. And then I'm like, wait, why am I keep, this message, why is it coming so often? I think that has happened to me as well, but I haven't tried this angel concept before. How
yeah,
was that? How did that work for you?
try it out. I mean, yesterday. So I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
Yesterday, right in front of here, there was a bus that stopped. And I'd never seen it stop before. We moved into this place about 6 months ago, and this is the first time I'd seen that bus. So, and there
Mhm.
was bus number 274.
Okay.
So I go to DuckDuckGo, type in Angel 274, and so there's a couple of websites that I know that have good information, and one of them is sunscience.org,
Mhm.
sunscience.org, and they have in-depth information about numbers and numerology, right? And this is essentially what that is. So the message essentially was, it's time to live your soul's purpose.
Okay.
Like literally said, the universe is sending you a sign that it is time to live your soul's purpose. That was the
Mhm.
first one. And the second one is that it is time to begin to trust in your ability to make decisions for yourself, right?
Mhm.
As in, I don't need to
Nice.
look for approval, seek for approval when I'm making a decision
Right.
that's for
Mhm.
me, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that's what I used as the universe's message to me, and I'm like, oh, that's a great reminder. And I write it down in my book just so as I note it down, like this is the message for me for this day, and yeah, things
Yep.
start to move. It's just
Mhm.
something that you want to like watch out for. Okay, so then
Mhm.
you talk about managing energy, time. There's like a energy time concept, right? So you talk about where you have to instead of managing your time, you want to look out more for the energy part. So can you share some tips on how to manage your energy and some habits that people can develop?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like me as like even me, I mean the past version of me was very obsessed with getting things done. Like if I write something down that I have to have this done by end of this week, I have to have it done. Otherwise I get so depressed. And I still see a lot of people who are very obsessed with managing their time and productivity. And I think that never worked for me in my experience because it only caused more burnout and I felt like I wasn't as efficient as I want to be. So I was reading, about energy healing and these different energy concepts and it really intrigued me and I thought like, okay, it's more important to really manage your energy. So the first thing I would say is tuning into your body. That is what like really helped me to kind of understand more about my energy levels because your body is constantly giving you signs, when if you need more sleep, if you need to rest more, or if you need to engage in some creative work, your body is telling you that, and we kind of fail to pay attention to it. And the second thing I would say is like filling your cup with activities that energizes you. I have done a review of my day, and I kind of feel like most of the times, in the past, like in the past few years, when I was doing when I hit burnout, like most of the things that I used to do were not energizing me. I would just keep working, 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 and then watch TV, and then eat something like eat some junk food and go to bed. And I didn't have any activities in my day to day life that energized me. And then I would wait for the weekends to do something fun and then, start again with this hustle of life. So, doing some mindful activities like meditation, journaling, taking mindful walks, or really engaging in soulful conversations with your loved ones, and like turning off your devices, like engaging in such kind of activities that fills your cup, it will really energize you and give you that energy to do other things that you want to do. And eventually I think like by having this kind of a day-to-day ritual where you have things that energizes you, you will be able to experience more of that flow state where you're getting more things done in less time. And So over the years, in my experience, like I have figured out like certain times of the day on when I want to do certain kinds of tasks. So for me, in the mornings, like 6 to 10 a.m., I usually, do more of organization kind of tasks, like just organizing my day, making my meal, and all of that. And then from 10 to 2 p.m. is when I'm like more productive and I get all the big tasks done during that time. And also, I have certain I block off like deep dive times to work on my day job as well as on my business. And then from 2 to 5 p.m., usually it's a bit slow. So I try to keep most of my meetings at that time. And then around 5 to 7, I feel is more of my creative time, or sometimes it's even like around 8 to 9 p.m. So depending on how I feel, I kind of carve out some time to engage in more creative work, like, actually creating content or creating a program or creating a product. So really tuning into your body and also figuring out these different times of the day and what kind of tasks you have, and reallocating them would really help you maximize your results, I feel.
You know, I the first point you said was tuning into your body, and I can completely relate to that because I realized how food affected my body by tuning
Mhm.
into my body,
Mhm.
right? So when I understood how different foods move through my body and how it made my body feel at different times, I realized what foods were good for my body and what foods were not good for my body. And I could completely see how it would give you other signs and different aspects of your life as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Like I used to hop on every trend, like celery juice. Okay, I'll try it, And then I was like, oh my God, like once I started learning about Ayurveda is when I realized like the different foods can have different effects on your body, and it's not like all the healthy foods are actually good for you. So I think that is really important to mindfully notice how the food you eat makes you feel, whether you feel bloated or lethargic, or if you're feeling energized by the food you eat. And I know like I was eating a lot of oats and drying foods like quinoa and all that, and really felt very lethargic and heavy. Yeah, because I always thought like like anything white is bad and it has to be like whole grains and all of that. So really understand what you're saying.
So Kundan brings up a good point that it's very important to tune into your body and whole self because we have to learn the difference between our
Mhm.
programmed cravings and true desires.
Love it. Yep,
That's
yep.
very important. Thank you, Kundan. So you mentioned that you picked up meditation. What
Mhm.
effect have you seen that meditation has played in your life? Like, what changes have you seen because of meditation?
Yeah, I think when I started, it was definitely a hard practice. I wouldn't deny that, because I was, more into HIIT workouts, dancing, and those sorts of things. I never had this discipline to sit down with myself, close my eyes, and be there. And also, growing up, this wasn't a practice that we did at home or anything, so it was very new for me. But I knew that a lot of people were talking about it and that it's going to help heal my body and my mind. So I started really small. Like I just started with 3 minutes of practice, but I made sure I do it every day. And I didn't force myself and have any kind of expectations. And I think that was really an important thing, because people come in with certain expectations that you have to feel calm, or you have to, something will change. There'll be some light, something like that. And I didn't have any of those expectations. And I think that really helped me. And I would just sit with myself and then start journaling after that, to put down all my thoughts down and really clear my head and become aware of myself. And then after about, I think, 6 to 8 months of doing that is when I really got that discipline, and started seeing some visible differences in the way that I speak, in my relationships, how I was able to let things go and not just, keep it within me and ponder over it and feel unhappy about it. I think that was the biggest change I saw initially. And then I learned like more powerful practices from Isha, from the inner engineering course and all that. And then I started doing that. And after doing those practices for 6 months, like it was very transformational. It's hard to explain, but I think I came to understand more about who I am, What is my soul's purpose? Definitely, I think that's something that came through these practices. It wasn't like one day I just woke up and thought I want to talk about this, because when I sit down in the practice, I get these different visualizations on who I want to become, and who I am at a deeper level, and all of that. And I think ultimately it helped me to manage my energy better, and figure out like who I want to spend time with, and who do I want to uh, not spend so much time with, because I was able to understand what is draining my energy and what is energizing me in terms of activities, but also the people as well.
You bring up a great point. Removing people that are distracting, that have negative energy, understanding how they are in the moment, bringing you down or empowering you, either way. And so, is that why mindfulness is very important? Being mindful, being aware and present. Um, and also, what tips do you have for someone who wants to be mindful on a daily basis? What can they get? How can they get started?
Right. Yeah, I think because of these practices, you are easily able to become aware when your energy is displaced. I don't know if that makes sense, but you're able to visibly know if something is affecting you, whether it was a conversation or some activity that you did. And I think that is the biggest advantage of practicing, uh, because you get to understand more about how you want to align your day and align your values and everything. In terms of some habits, I think definitely mindful eating is something that I started doing to tune in more into my body. So I would say, like, at least one meal, if you could eat without any distractions, and prepare your meal without any distractions, with more love and attention, like how much ingredients are you using, what are those ingredients, what is its nutritional value, like by really becoming mindful about the food that you eat and how the food makes you feel. I think that is really a good start. And for most people, I think their journey started with their body and then transitioned into their minds. So that is something, like one habit that people can start working on. And I'm also a huge fan of journaling. So if like, there are different kinds of journaling, but I think for beginners, definitely gratitude journaling is something that I would recommend, because we are all so much caught up with what we want to do and what we want to achieve, and we fail to remember what we already have and what we can give to others. So by journaling about gratitude every day, you constantly remind yourself on what you have and what you can share with others, and that helps to eliminate your fears and your anxieties. And also, morning pages is a great thing to journal. I like wake up, and if I feel like, I'm like overthinking or over analyzing certain things, or kind of, feel overwhelmed in the morning, I do this exercise of like brain dump, just write down all the things that is there in my mind, and then later in the evening or in the afternoon, I just go through it and see like what actions I can take, or how I can address these problems, or what patterns am I seeing. So journaling about morning pages, and I mean practicing morning pages and gratitude journaling, I think is a great start.
So for the gratitude journal, are there questions that they like that they can have,
Mhm.
that you ask to write down, or what are they writing down?
Right, right. Yeah, that's a great point. So to begin with, I think you can write 3 to 5 things that you're grateful about. Like it could be about yourself or about family, nature, anything that you're generally grateful about. And also, I like to write down my wins as things that I'm grateful for. So because we try to forget, like, our small wins as well as our big wins, and we try to move on to the next goal too quickly. So putting that down is a great way to reflect and to also tell yourself that you have done a good job. So your big wins, small wins, accomplishments, and things that you're grateful for in your life.
Yeah. And is there a particular time of day that you do this? Morning, evening?
So I do the things that I'm grateful for in the morning, because that like allows me to set the intention for the day and start my day with more gratitude. And the wins, I do it in the evenings because it's more like a reflection exercise on what I've done throughout that day. So I put that down later in the evening. And also I write down like small things that gave me joy, like things that I notice when I go on the walks, like rabbits and birds and new flowers that I see, the fall colors. So even putting this down in my journal later in the evening makes me feel that very grateful for the life that I have.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. I love that exercise. So I know you recently started your business, maybe a year or so ago.
Mhm.
I guess the pandemic has been really good to some people. And what advice do you have for someone who's wanting to begin their soulpreneurship?
Mhm.
Soulpreneurship in the sense of some like spiritual type of venture. What advice do you have for someone like let's motivate them, let's get them started if
Yeah.
they're just on the fence?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm also very early in my journey. It's not even been a year since I started this business. But I think for me, like I started more again, like following my excitement and my purpose. I did not think a lot about monetizing it in the beginning. I think that naturally came because, like, going back to the formula that we were talking about, since you're putting together your skills and you're solving a problem, you will get paid for it, and there is no there's it's not wrong to get paid for your purpose. I think a lot of people feel anxious about starting their business. They are like, I love doing this, but I am anxious to ask people to pay me for this. So that was one of the fears that I had as well starting out. But I think people where I felt like I want to really create that impact, and in order to bring that impact I had to make this as a business. So I would say, like, start with your excitement and your passion, and don't be afraid of changing that into a business, because you want to do more of this, and in order to bring more abundance and to create more abundance in other people's life, it is okay to really make this a business. And it can be uncomfortable and scary to do certain things. So for me, starting creating like reels or going on IG live and sharing about my journey and talking about certain of these topics were initially little uncomfortable and scary. I was thinking, would people judge me because I'm in tech and I'm talking about spirituality and these things? How would my friends react? So I had all these different fears in my mind, but I just knew within that this is what I want to do. And if that means I'm going to lose some people, that is fine. I will have a new set of people. And in my journey, I have met a lot of incredible people in this area of spirituality and holistic health. And I'm really grateful that I actually took that leap and did that. So I would say not to really wait for the right time, because there is no right time. And also not wait for you to become an expert in something, or basically thinking that there is a perfect world out there, because again perfection is also something that is not existing. So I would say, yeah, not to wait for the right time, and not to think that you have to become an expert in something in order to share your story. Just start with whatever pulls you. If that's a podcast, go for it. If that is creating content, then go for it. And then it will keep evolving and you will keep learning. And then you can eventually try to have like a business strategy and work on that. Also having a good audience, like, I mean, working on identifying your audience and your fans is really important, because you cannot attract everyone, and trust me, you don't want to attract everyone. So you want to attract the right people who align with your energy. So it's very important to be authentic in the message that you're sharing, and also to be confident about what you're sharing, so that you attract the right kind of people and you can start making an actual impact. So don't try to satisfy everyone. And that is something I learned in my journey as well, because I wanted to literally take everyone and transform them, and that didn't go that well. So you will have your own set of audience, and all you have to do is just be authentic.
I love that advice. Yeah, I think it's finding that right set of people around you, that
Mhm.
right audience, and people will come and go. But as long as you're authentic and staying on message and keep sharing what you're from your story. So, where can people find you if they want to work with you? If they want to, learn more about you, where can they find
Yeah, actually, I wanted thought of another thing that I wanted to add for that
you? Yeah.
question. So also like to not be afraid to invest in yourself. So I have invested so much in learning, in meeting different coaches and working with them. So if it means that you have to get a business coach, go for it. Like I mean, I think investing in yourself is really important. Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to invest, and also definitely take it in your own pace. I think initially I was very excited to do a lot of things, and I did not hit burnout again, but I could have hit burnout. But then told myself that this is something that I want to do for a lifetime. It's the legacy that I want to leave. So I'm going to do this at my own pace. So I think really doing things, doing your business in your own pace and investing in yourself, it's also very important. Do you agree, Varun?
I completely agree. Investing in yourself is the most important thing you can do, especially if you're in business. But even if you're in a career, it's always improving on yourself, improving your
Right,
skills and what you can do.
right. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm more active on Instagram. So my handle is Gromance with Pavi. Or you can also look at my offerings and my purpose workbook on gromancelife.com. So the workbook actually has a series of journal prompts and exercises to really guide you to discover your purpose. And it also comes with a playlist that you can listen to before journaling to get into that zone and tapping into your creative energy. And it also has, and I also provide like accountability, and you can do it with other people who have brought the journal. So there are a lot of events and everything that you get access to as well. So I've made it more like a whole experience. So you just don't get the journal and don't practice it. So I will hold you accountable to it, and I've made this as a whole experience. So you can check out that at romancelife.com.
Sorry, it was romancelife.com. I think I messed
Yeah.
it up. Bro, I'm going to type it up again. Romancelife.com. So everyone can see that as well. I put
Okay.
romancewithpavi.com. I'm not sure why. Sorry.
No, Romance with Pavi is my Instagram page.
Instagram. Okay, got it. So I got that right. All right, cool. And do you have any upcoming projects? Anything that you'd like to tell our audience in the last thing?
Yeah, I did run a program called Romance Circles where every week, we meet and practice and meditation, journaling, and each week would be a different topic where I would be teaching more about the specific topic and how you can practice it. And this idea was more so for people to make it a part of their life and to have that accountability as well, because it's really hard when you're starting out to not have these resources and accountability. So that is something I did this year, and I plan to restart the program next year as well. Um, and the whole idea of romance is to keep it very affordable. So all of my the programs in the workbook, I priced it in an affordable way so more people can get access to it. So yeah, I'm excited for next year to see where this goes.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you have something coming up, and you're helping a lot of people. That's amazing. You're living your soul's purpose while you're sharing how others can live their soul's purpose. So that's great. So thank you so much, Pavi. It was amazing
Yeah.
having you. We learned a lot from you. You shared everything that you could offer and some more. And there's a lot more on your website and a lot more in all of your programs that you're offering. So anyone that's looking to reach out to Pavi, it's Gromance with Pavi on Instagram and gromancelife.com. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I appreciate Pavi for joining us and sharing a lot today. And love and abundance, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys very soon.
Yep. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thanks, Varun, for having me. Bye.
Thank you, Pavi.